In this video, we're going to go over a tip relevant to office managers and anyone that's scheduling appointments, so potentially virtual assistants or anyone that's in charge of scheduling, okay? By default, when we schedule an appointment, let's say it's the first appointment of that given day, whatever day of the week it is, whatever day of the year, doesn't really matter. The first appointment of any day, try to either propose for the person to do it at 7:30 or at the very end of the day, okay? The preference for that is because if we do it in any other time, if we start at 8:45, that means we don't have time to do an appointment at 7:30 when we could start the day a little bit earlier. So the first proposition for times, if it's an available day that's not booked at all, is going to be at 7:30, maybe at 8 a.m., depending on the season or depending on the person's like response. But priority, try to schedule it the very first appointment at 7:30. A hair later is acceptable, but not optimal. Try to schedule it at 7:30, 8 at the latest. If the person wants to schedule any later than that, then propose another time. So the first option is the first appointment of the day at 7:30, or the second option for that same day is going to be the last appointment of the day. Oh, it sounds like you're not a morning bird, and starting at 9 a.m. is a little bit too late for us. So I'd rather try to get you in at the end of the day. Does noon or 1 p.m. or 3 p.m. work for you? So if they will not take the first appointment, which is going to be your first recommendation, is the very first appointment of the day at 7:30. If they're not a morning bird, we can propose them to do it later in the day. It depends on the service, ultimately, if it's the last appointment of the day. Regardless of the service, you can do it at 7:30 to start. But at the end of the day, for window cleaning appointments, you're going to want to end start the last appointment around noon if we're doing like a full house, depending on the size of the house. Obviously, if it's gutter cleaning and we're scheduling the last appointment, it should be done around 2 or 3 p.m. very likely. So it gets a little bit more complicated when it comes to scheduling the last appointment. But the point being, with a fresh day, and we have to fill that day with scheduled appointments, we're going to propose to that person. If we can start at 7:30, does that work well for you? And if it doesn't, 7:30 is too early for them. No later than 8 a.m. if you're going to lock them into that first spot, or at the end of the day, at noon, at 1, at 2, at 3, whatever it is, depending on the service that we're providing them. Just make sure that we have adequate time to finish that job.